Welcome back to Offside Insights. I'm a lifelong season ticket holder at the Arsenal, and today I'm going to put forward 10 ideas that I think could be implemented to improve Arsenal Football Club.
Arsenal planned a major expansion of the Emirates.
Looking up the road to Tottenham Hotspur and just realising actually they're falling behind in the amount of money that their stadium generates.
Arsenal eye ground expansion.
Increasing number of clubs are seeing the opportunity for more revenue is in their stadium, in hosting events.
Can we improve the sound? Can we improve the way they access the stadium? Can we improve the service? Can we improve the experience?
How can they expand the Emirates, increase the capacity, get more people in?
And a lot of things that we can still get there to create the best atmosphere in the world for our players to perform.
Firstly, I want to talk about improving the Emirates Stadium. There's been a lot of chat recently about they're going to do new works on the stadium, they're going to update it, it's been around for a while now, it's still a best-in-class stadium, but it could sure do with some work. And I want to put forward some of my ideas as to how I think it could be improved, I was put on the season ticket waiting list when I was born, and then when I was about 8 or 9, I got a season ticket with my dad and a group of his friends opposite the away fans, and I've had so much pleasure and joy out of going to the Emirates over the years, but I think there are so many things, simple things that could be done better. And I want to start with explaining the story of the Tottenham game just last week. Eze's hat-trick, what a joyful experience.
Tottenham Hotspur, you'll always be shit.
Regardless of any deficiencies with the stadium and the experience that the fans get, it was a wonderful experience to see Eze ball like that, man, and beating up Tottenham just brings so much pleasure. But I think there are so many things that could be improved. Firstly, I want to talk about the most simple thing. My whole life I have cycled to the Arsenal Stadium. It's about 15-20 minutes cycle away, and there's bike parking right near to the entrance, and unfortunately this season they decided to remove the bike parking. I don't know why. So now my dad, who has an electric bike, he doesn't want to cycle and park his bike outside the stadium, so we actually went by car.
And then at the Brentford game last week, when I went with my mum, we went to park our bikes up on the railings where you can see bikes parked up in this footage that I've got, and the security came over to us, they pulled my mum away, they manhandled her, and they forced us to go park our bikes around the corner. It was crazy, it felt so backwards.
So that's the first thing I would fix. Get the bike parking back, build a much bigger bike parking, make it safe, make fans want to come to the stadium by bike. The next thing, which is something you have to go through every time as an Arsenal fan, are the ridiculous queues to get into the stadium. I'll bring up a couple photos of some queues over the years. I mean, the worst ones are always Champions League nights because everyone's arriving there just before, everyone's come from the office, and oh my god, the queues are bad. It's either kind of like you either roll up 20 minutes, half an hour early, and then there's less queues, but then you're inside, or you roll up 10-15 minutes before, and that's when the worst of it is, or you roll up 1 or 2 minutes before and you can often get in quicker. I've always entered into the same gate. Luckily, the gate that we have, I think it's gate C, is actually a reasonable gate to get in. The gate next to us is actually always way worse, and they don't allow people to go into any gate, which I don't really understand, because once you're in the concourse, you can go anywhere you want. There needs to be a serious overhaul with entry into the stadium. I think the obvious thing is more turnstiles. There's only 4 turnstiles that you can actually go through to get into our gate. How difficult would it be to suddenly make that 8? And the whole experience of getting into the stadium would be easier. I understand they have to check bags, I understand they have to pat you down, I understand you have to scan your ticket, and with the new system a lot of people struggle. What a simple investment that would be. Double the amount of turnstiles to get in. Modern stadiums have quick entry. I think that would be a great improvement. Thirdly, whoops daisy, I want to talk about once you get into the stadium, the experience that you get once you're in there. Obviously everyone knows about the disappointment of the semi-final against PSG when all they had as a tifo was that collapsing Arsenal flag, which I'll bring up in the stadium. And one thing about the Tottenham game was the pre-match was amazing, and I have to give props to the Arsenal for that one. The tifo that they had, the fireworks, the energy when they turn the lights off, oh man, it really gets you going for the game, and I have to say full props to the Arsenal for improving that. And I think that's primarily come because they've now started collaborating with more fan groups when it comes to the pre-match match preparations and atmosphere encouragement. There's a couple things I want to talk about. Firstly, the screens. So I think it was about 2-3 seasons ago, they actually put little screens kind of in front of us, because I'm a bit further back, so we have the tier above us that hangs over, and then at the bottom they put screens. I was never the biggest fan of the screens, you know. I think your eyes should be on the football. Like, you know, if you want to see the big screen, you can kind of peer and see the big screen and see the score. There's been a couple problems with the screens, especially this season. The biggest problem was against Man City. Before the game they were showing the women's game, which is totally fine, but then the women's game overlapped. So like the first 5 minutes of the Man City game, they were still showing the end of the women's game, even though it was wrapped up and it didn't matter. And everyone's a bit like, whoa, what's going on? And then at the end of the game, they forgot to turn the channel off, and then suddenly Escape to the Country came on, and on all of the screens around the stadium, it was playing Escape to the Country when there was Arsenal Man City in front of you, and people couldn't manage it. There were people climbing up. This one guy climbed up on top of his seat. Some guy had him on his shoulders, and he clicked the off button for the TV, and everyone was going crazy, man. It was just like, it was pretty surreal. Like, you know, the amount that you spend, the amount of effort and love and passion that you put into the Arsenal, and just the rookie errors that go on is hard to explain. The other thing for me with the screens is, I think showing the score, amazing. You know, the score, who's had a yellow card, who's scored, who's on the pitch. You know, keeping that screen on, absolutely fine, and replays for big moments. But what they've been doing recently that just really frustrates me is just playing loads of visuals on the TV. You know, after Madueke scored against Bayern, they had like a photo of him and an image and just the word Madueke just playing on repeat, and it was like almost too engaging, and I felt myself like getting sucked into it, when really I just wanted to be looking at the pitch and feeling the energy of the stadium. You know, show the replay of the goal, that's great, but don't show content that is just going to try and take your attention away from the experience around you. Next up, the ultimate thing that's always frustrated me, and this was probably the primary thing that I actually wanted to make this video for, was the system of serving drinks at halftime is atrocious. It needs serious overhaul. Unfortunately for the Tottenham game, my dad decided to leave. If you want to get a pint at halftime, you got to leave at like 40 minutes, 42 minutes, you know, something like that. Which means that, especially with a couple minutes added on time, you're missing like 5 or more minutes of the game, you know. So my dad left to go get us some drinks, which is fair play to him, but unfortunately he missed the Eze goal just at the end, which is always disappointing, because I'm there, I'm celebrating, I'm loving it, but then my dad's just gone in to get pints and he's missed the goal. You know, it's disappointing to see. If you watch the whole game in our section of the first half and then go try and get a drink, you won't be able to before the end of the second half. What they need to do is, they've got lots of little beer trucks, well, not lots of them, a couple beer trucks dotted about. They need way more, and they need to be pre-pouring pints before the half. Arteta's come out and he says he wants the Emirates to have the best atmosphere in world football. But I guarantee you that the 5 minutes before half time, the atmosphere dies, man. The atmosphere dies. Like, nobody's singing, half the crowd are going to queue up and try and get a drink. It's unfortunate to say it, but we need to take a lesson out of Tottenham's book. They might have got spanked on that day, but they do have a fabulous stadium, and we need more beer serving. You know, people want a pint at halftime during football, you know, that's part of the experience. They need to get to the point where people feel like they can watch and the whole first half, celebrating hard, singing hard, being in there, the atmosphere, everything, and then they can still get a pint at halftime. Then comes the next issue, and I don't know if this is going to be something that's regular, but it certainly happened at the Tottenham game. We were all drinking, enjoying, chatting, you know, the atmosphere in the concourse is ripper, everyone's singing the new Eze song. Well, everyone was trying to, because it's not actually the easiest one to learn. I was just thinking if I could do it off the top of my head now. I can hear them crying down the lane, 'cause Emirates scores again. He called up Mick Arteta, he said, wow, fuck off Tottenham, I'm a gooner now. This video is definitely getting demonetized now. La 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 la. But I don't really care. This is just for fun, man. Then bang, suddenly a big pop-up on the screen has a countdown for the second half, and it's like 5 minutes to go. Everyone's like, alright, seems like we've been here for a bit already, but alright, 5 minutes to go. So we're drinking our pints leisurely, then we hear everyone screaming, and Eze scored again, and we were just gobsmacked that they got the timer in the concourse wrong as to when the second half was starting. When you watch it on Match of the Day, you can see that half of the bottom row of people in that stadium were not there. The amount of empty seats for that Eze goal. I know he scored after like a minute or two into the second half, but it's just ludicrous. That timer should be elapsing with a minute before half time to go, not the other way around. And that really felt like, especially for my dad, who'd missed the first Eze goal because he went to get the pints, and then missed the second one because the timer was wrong. At least he got the hat trick, and we were there to celebrate that one all together. But you know, it takes away from the experience a little bit. You know, don't get me wrong, I'd prefer to be suffering it a little bit at the Emirates spanking Tottenham than being in the Tottenham Stadium where they've won like 3 games all calendar year. Still, second half, what a joy. That third Eze goal, he nearly got the fourth as well, man. That was definitely him officially announcing himself with the Gooners. My last point about the Tottenham game was the music afterwards. So obviously the fans get to dominate the music during the game, singing hard, especially that new Eze song. And then after the game, the DJ for the stadium comes on, and you know, he plays North London Forever. But then the second song just didn't hit. Can't remember what it was, but it was just like, what the hell are you playing this song for? It just didn't make sense. It wasn't an Arsenal song. For me, I like it when the players are walking around, they're clapping, you sing the song of the player that's coming past you. You know, I understand maybe the DJ can get everyone in the stadium singing the same song, and I think for impactful moments it works, but I think maybe limit it to like, you know, 2 songs after the game, then let the fans sing away as the players are coming round, and then just as the last player's coming back off, then you can play another song. It's nice when the fans can appreciate the players directly with their songs as they're coming round, rather than like some, I can't remember, it was some horrible pop song that was just like, why are you playing this? Alright, so that's the experience of the Tottenham game. Absolutely loved it. It was so much fun. But I think the Emirates could be doing a lot more, and as they're going and planning new things, you know, they need to be factoring these kind of things in. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the ideas that they've been putting forward as to what they could be doing with the stadium going forward. One of the big ones that I would be a big supporter of is the idea of lowering the pitch and adding more seats in front. This is what, I think it was Porto, I can't remember, it's one of the Portuguese teams, the ones that bought the plans for the Emirates Stadium and then built the exact replica stadium in Portugal, so they have the exact same stadium that we have. What they did was they pushed the pitch down, and there's a big car park under the Emirates, so I mean it would not be hard to lower the pitch, add in like 5 rows of seats in front. The Emirates Stadium is not the closest to the pitch because when it was built, there was regulations in place about ambulances being able to drive all the way around the outside of the pitch, which are no longer in place for Premier League football. So we could definitely bring the fans closer to the pitch, create the atmosphere more, immersive, and as part of that, we could add another 5 rows of seats, which is definitely a couple thousand seats, that's for sure. I think that would be a great addition to the Emirates. Obviously, what they want to do is add the ability to have more commercial, more, revenue from boxes and people that are actually paying real money. Obviously we still pay real money for our season tickets, but not the big corporate boxes and stuff. For me, there's already lots of them at the Emirates. What they could be doing if they want to make more revenue is serve more pints at half time, serve more food at half time. I've never bought food at the Emirates once. I see people rolling around with some shitty pizza slices and I'm not jealous. I went to the Tottenham Stadium for an Arsenal away game and oh my god, they have so many different food options with and I went for the NFL as well. That was pretty sweet. So many food options, so many bars, so many things to upsell fans once they're inside the stadium, and we need more of that at the Emirates. Yeah, another thing they've been talking about is safe standing. This is a bit of an interesting one because if they brought in safe standing for our area, everyone stands already. I think it would be great, but they would have to then cut us off to the rest of the stadium. Currently, we can walk up to the top, we can walk all the way around the concourse, doesn't matter. But if they brought in safe standing, they'd have to cut off our section so that not everyone from up in the gods came down to the safe standing. And that would be a bit like, well, I don't know. Maybe they could just make the whole bottom row safe standing. That would be pretty cool. And cut us off from the top sections. I think that would add a lot of atmosphere and energy to the stadium. We need to do more to encourage atmosphere. One thing is, the Ashburton Army, big love and respect to them, everyone in the Ashburton Army. If anyone's watching this right now, come on, man. Come on, the Arsenal. Come on, the atmosphere that you guys bring at the other end of the stadium. You know, we got the Red Army crew at my end, but I love the Ashburton Army. But the unfortunate thing is, a couple seasons ago, they got their allocation cut in like, it wasn't even half. It was like a third. Before they had a huge crew of them. Now it got significantly reduced. Why? Why, Arsenal? You know, we need more fans that bring atmosphere. For me, a fan that brings atmosphere is worth triple some fan that just sits there and doesn't bring the energy. You know, we need to create that cauldron. And yeah, another thing that we could be doing to add more atmosphere is acoustic panels on the roof. You know, Tottenham's done it, and I have to admit, the sound at that stadium is incredible. You know, like, I've never felt the energy of the other end of a stadium so strongly, and especially when the game that I went there and we were 3-0 up at half time. Oh my god, man. I started one song, I can't remember what it was, but I got the whole Arsenal end singing it, and oh my god, like, we dominated that stadium. Could have been the Postecoglou one. That was a classic. Cheer up, Postecoglou, oh what can it mean to a fat Aussie bastard and a shit football team. Offside Insights is definitely going rogue. This is I put so much effort into those videos that I made last winter. You know, I was trying to put in so much love and energy to, you know, make them as optimized for the algorithm and make them pop online. And I got a couple videos that went quite viral, but now I'm just doing this for the pure love and fun of it. And I just felt the passion to make this video about the Arsenal, especially after the joy of the Tottenham game, but also the shock and disbelief at how badly the Emirates was set up. Arteta said he wants the best atmosphere. You know, he's producing the best football team. You know, attack, defense, set pieces, everything. You know, absolutely. Fair play to Arteta, what a legend. But we need to keep improving and growing on the atmosphere in the Emirates. Some other things they've been talking about is making the stadium more multi-use. You know, obviously Tottenham have got the NFL pitch and under the car park. And other stadiums around the UK use their venue for multiple different things. Obviously, Arsenal recently hosted a Brazil game, and but I think there's way more that could be done. You know, concerts, just different uses, boxing matches. You know, how could we set the Emirates up to be multi-use in this modern world, which is only going to benefit Arsenal Football Club. You know, they could be doing more stuff like 4G in the ground, more capabilities to remove the pitch and add you know, concert venue equipment, you know, more ability to transform it for other sports. You know, all of that is definitely possible. And that rounds up my thoughts on the Emirates. You know, I think there's so much that could be done.
So yeah, thank you so much for watching and listening. Big love if you've made it this far into the video. If you have, definitely check out one of my other videos that I've done last year on Offside Insights, and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, I hope you've found it useful and learned a lot about some of the things that we've done with the Emirates, especially since there's a lot of talk about how they're going to renew it in the next coming years.